Hello, welcome back. This is Raghu Banda. This is the season 2 of the podcast series that we have been doing with machine learning on SAP S/4HANA. In the first podcast in the season 2, we have talked with an SAP expert from ISLM, Preeti Dhingra. Today is the podcast 2, and today we will have the pleasure to talk with another expert from SAP, from Intelligent Scenario Lifecycle Management, ISLM. And I invite Marion Schlotte. Marion Schlotte has been with SAP a little over 20 years. She's based out of Waldorf, Germany. She has served in different roles and different capacities. The last 3 years in the area of lifecycle management for machine learning scenarios for SAP solutions like SAP S/4HANA, she's been working in this role for the last 3.5 years or so. Currently in the role of the central product owner for ISLM, she's leading the development teams that are based out of Bangalore and Sao Leopoldo. And let us welcome Marion. Hi, Marion.
Hi, Raghu. Yeah, thanks a lot for this nice introduction and your offering for this interview, for this podcast. I'm really happy to answer all your questions and talk about my daily business as the central project lead and product owner for ISLM at SAP.
Thank you, Marion. So let us get started on our conversation with ISLM. So what was the motivation when you initiated ISLM in 2019? Can you speak a few words about it?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, yeah, I work for SAP now since a long time, almost 20 years. And I am seeing how things evolve over time. And with my strong affirmation and towards mathematics and AI, I joined the SAP Machine Learning Foundation team for a fellowship in 2018. And I came back to my organization, which is a cloud and lifecycle management area, where we develop all these tools and services for lifecycle management for almost all the SAP solutions. So it was obvious for me that we have to bring these both parts together. And I joined at that time a project called Lifecycle Management for Machine Learning, LM4ML. And there we kicked off a project to analyze the existing available machine learning scenarios that are already integrated in the S/4HANA world. And at that time, we figured out, as I said, it was in 2018, that there was no standardization and still missing lifecycle management features, and also some lack of control for our customers at that time. So for the S/4HANA organization, it was the situation that every application team has to solve these parts on their own, and they more focus on the consuming part to develop this great functionality with AI. But as said, the lifecycle and operation part was not standardized. And for our customers like you, so you have the situation that you have to deal with many different reports, transactions, or different UIs. And in addition, sometimes you also have partly ticket-based processes to deal with when it comes to training data, requesting trainings, having debriefing reports to decide based on the accuracy and other indicators, to really decide if you want to switch on the ML functionality or not. And with that analysis, we decided really to invest here from our department in the cloud and lifecycle management area. And this was a starting point, to invest here on both sides. And at that time, we also took the existing solution, which is a predictive analytics integrator, as the fundament for this new solution that is called Intelligent Scenario Lifecycle Management, with a short abbreviation ISLM. And now I'm very happy and grateful leading this new strategic topic over the last 2 years now. And that's what I'd like to introduce you today and give you more details on.
Sure, sure. Thanks. That sounds very good. So what do you mean here with both sides? So who will use your solution and for whom will it be beneficial?
Yeah, I mentioned both sides when I said we invest here for both sides with ISLM. Yeah, when I talk about both sides, I mean on the one side, the developer side, where normally our business application developer and develops a business solution and make use of machine learning or predictive artifacts that a data scientist normally develops and integrates it in his business solution. So for these developers, ISLM's intention is to bring these two worlds together and makes it more easy for business application developers. So we introduce a new entity that we call intelligent scenario. This entity and the idea also to call it intelligent scenario was that we have this term to cover both sides, the predictive analytics side that exists before with Pi, and also the new deep learning side with machine learning scenarios that were initiated with the data intelligence platform. And as we have the intelligent enterprise, we thought intelligent scenario is the entity to bind and these both parts, as said, business application and machine learning parts, and bringing it into the S/4HANA stack as a binding entity. And ISLM is mainly offered as a standard framework now for our internal S/4HANA development teams to provide a common consumption model in a convenient way so that it's easy for these application developers to integrate AI in their business apps. So that it means they do not have to care after each training run that the endpoint is changing on the ML service side, and they do not have to offer UIs for all these operational tasks like training and so on. This is done and offered by ISLM, and we offer these common APIs for the inference calls and a common operation cockpit for all scenarios. And that was the first side when I talk about both sides. And now I come to the second side. That means we also provide functionality for the persona that is more or less the customer or the people that operate the existing solutions, offered release solutions with S/4HANA. That are tightly integrated with AI technology, such as machine learning models. And here we have a new type of entity that customers have to deal with. And this requires as well a new way of lifecycle management operations, as said, such as training and monitoring, debriefing, and decision of which model version to deploy and activate, which has an impact on the productive environment. And with ISLM, you get it for free when you create your intelligence scenario for your business application. And as a customer, you have just one tool to deal with to manage and operate all these scenarios in your S/4HANA stack. And sorry, last comment. The other thing and persona is also, I mentioned that this is beneficial for our internal S/4HANA development teams. But we also decided to open up ISLM to our customers and partners so that you can do exactly the same when you develop your own predictive or machine learning scenarios, and you're able to integrate via ISLM your scenarios, your developments for operation and consumption like we do it at SAP. So to ensure really the enterprise readiness in a hybrid solution.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Let us maybe take a quick break and then come back and continue our discussion. Welcome back. So let us now continue further. So Marion, what do you mean when you mentioned PI, or the Predictive Analytics Integrator, as a fundamental for ISLM? Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Oh, yes, sure. So, yeah, when we kicked off the project in 2019, it was clear that we already, as SAP, have a great offering and solution for one side of the medal, the so-called embedded world, where we have a predictive analytics integrator with Pi for predictive scenarios based on HANA ML libraries. So this solution is available since 2016 or around that. And the concept and architecture of Pi was a good starting point for us. That is why we decided to reuse the complete implementation and copied the code down from the SAP BW layer and bring it to the SAP basis layer. Maybe here some technical insights, but to be more flexible when it comes to delivery and stakeholder support. And that's why I mentioned it as a fundament, and it means we have the complete functionality of Pi and feature parity in ISLM. But of course, we did some renaming and new authentications and so on. And overall, we reused the concepts and have the goal or extended it for the new flavor, which we call side by side. And in addition, we invest in this great new framework with new features where both sides, embedded and side-by-side, benefit from. Yeah, you can be curious.
So that is very good to know about that. So compared to Predictive Analytics Integrator, which was predominantly focused only on the embedded models, so with the new framework, the upgraded framework with ISLM, so I believe it works both for the embedded as well as the side-by-side models. So can you share a few thoughts on how ISLM works with both the embedded as well as the side-by-side models?
Yeah. Before I talk about how it works, I want to make a more definition statements on and what the main difference is. So when you come to ISLM and use one of the Fiori apps to create a scenario, you will find these two flavors, embedded and side by side. And we call it embedded when the machine learning part is running in the same stack. Here in our case, the S/4HANA stack. And we call it side by side for all scenarios where the machine learning part is running remote. So like the machine learning services, for example, in our SAP BTP cloud platform. And now a bit more in detail. Yeah, when we talk about embedded scenarios, we talk about you can create scenarios that are based on the HANA ML offering. And here we differentiate between embedded scenarios based on APL. APL stands for Automated Predictive Library, and the HANA PAL libraries, which are the predictive analysis libraries in HANA. And when you create an APL-based intelligence scenarios, you even do not have to develop. You just need to understand your training and apply data set. Of course, you need to understand which problem you want to solve with this model, and you make use of the given libraries and needs to decide what type of it you want to or which one will map to your use case, like classification or regression, for example. And with the help of ISLM, everything is generated for the business application that then will embed the inference calls in their solution. So it's pretty easy also for people that are not that familiar with data scientist knowledge. It's really easy to use. On the other side, we have the PAL based intelligence scenarios. Here it comes more to a bit more development task, as you have to implement an IMDP class, which is an ABAP implementation that follows the PAL and ISLM development guidelines. But you have the full freedom to implement all offered libraries, PAL libraries, and have a lot of freedom to implement the solution that is required for your needs. In side-by-side flavor, we currently support machine learning scenarios that are developed in SAP Data Intelligence. That means as a prerequisite to be integrated in ISLM, you need a developed, provisioned, and up and running machine learning scenario data intelligence. And the integration part in ISLM works that way that you go into ISLM and create and develop a so-called predictive class, which is also an ABAP implementation. And then you can create an intelligence scenario based on that, to interact with some remote machine learning model in SAP DI. That's the main difference.
Okay, that is very helpful, Marion. So that will be to understand the difference between the embedded models and the side-by-side models and how ISLM is helping to benefit the end users or the customers. Okay, all right, Marion. So how do you see this evolving? Can you provide a few thoughts on this?
Oh, yes. Thanks for this question. It's exciting because, the AI world is really evolving and agility is required here as well. So when we started with ISLM, we started with, for the side-by-side support, we started with SAP DI, and we figured out that there's much more to going on, and our stakeholders require also other platforms, other services to support. So we decided to open up ISLM for the further ML platforms, machine learning platforms, and machine learning services, mainly offered by SAP. Its BTP platform, business technology platform. So I have to say ISLM is growing into multiple dimensions. You will see in the future intelligence scenarios that are based on reusable services offered by SAP, mainly the SAP AI business services that you will find in the BTP platform. And here examples are the document information extraction, business entity recognition, data attribute recommendation, and others. And more of these business applications have, in the S4HANA world, have ideas on how to make use of these kinds of machine learning services, in order to make their solutions more intelligent. And of course, to reduce tedious tasks and use the AI business services to automate and optimize corporate processes and enrich your customer experience across the intelligence suite.
Okay. That is very exciting. That is very exciting to know about that. So what about the predictive analytics integrator, the PI now? When do you plan to migrate? I know some of those scenarios might be migrated to ISLM, but what is the complete plan of migrating these scenarios to ISLM? And what is the difference to PI? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, so I have to say when we started ISLM, it was so to say, for coding-wise, a copy of Pi, and we started that and extended it, as said, for the side-by-side offering and also for custom developments and so on. And we offered ISLM as a first release in October last year, so it's S4HANA 2020, and the first cloud release was 2011. And by then and until now, we have currently both solutions in parallel, so Pi and ISLM. And with Pi, you still have all the existing shipped, released S4HANA scenarios that are published and available for you and out of the box integrated into the S4HANA business solutions. That's the actual situation. And we are in the phase to announce the migration of these scenarios now with the upcoming releases of 2105 cloud release and the feature pack 2 for the on-premise release 2020. so this is what will come now. That means you as a customer, when you upgrade to these mentioned releases of S/4HANA, you are automatically see the migrated scenarios in the ISLM Fiori apps as well. And we have a transition phase so that you can use both flavors, PI and ISLM, as we have the same backend when it comes to PI content migration. So you need to know at the end, we offer you as a customer these two Fiori apps to manage the in the PI world the predictive scenarios, and in the ISLM world the intelligence scenarios. But at the end, when we talk about these scenarios from the backend side, these are after the migration the same backend, and you have the choice. And after a while, we will ask you to stop using the PI Fiori apps and start using the ISLM Fiori apps, because, and also with the backend and the framework and all these new features, ISLM is the way forward. And here we invest in all these new features and functions for the already existing scenarios and all the upcoming scenarios that we will ship over time.
Okay, that is very, very good to know about that. So maybe before getting into the key steps that are involved in the ISLM process, maybe we do a quick recap. And for the sake of the audience, I just want to kind of highlight that so far we have discussed with Marion about the evolution of ISLM and the migration, how it happened from predictive analytics integrator into ISLM, the intelligent scenario lifecycle management, and what are the different things that have been accomplished. And later on, we will now discuss with Marion how what are the key steps involved here, and how S4 is leveraging these process steps of ISLM. One thing I want to highlight though, the terminology, so that you, the audience, would also understand what we have been speaking in terms of this timelines. When Marion was mentioning 2011, it is 2020 November, and 2105, and Marion was mentioning it is 2021 May. So we have our release cycles. The cloud release happens every 3 months, every quarter. So that is where we call the release cycles in that fashion as 2008, 2011, and then 2102, 2105. I just want to reiterate that. Let us take a quick break and we'll come back and continue our conversation. All right, welcome back. So before even going into the key steps that are involved in ISLM, I would have a quick question. Maybe, does ISLM work with any third-party apps? Can you elaborate or provide some thoughts on that?
Yes, sure. So at the moment, ISLM is, as I mentioned before, is part of SAP Basis and delivered with S/4HANA. So the implementation of it is an ABAP component, which is the fundament of many SAP solutions like S/4HANA. Currently we support all solutions that are based on this stack, mainly S/4HANA. And in case you talk about other SAP solutions that are based on ABAP, we could imagine to offer ISLM there as well. It would be an easy win. For other solutions like third party, where we need to port ISLM to another technology and development language, it might be some more effort. We got these questions internally already, if you could support SuccessFactors or Ariba. Well, but by now it is not so. But I have to say never say never. So let's see how these things are evolve. And the other aspect to answer your question is also, as said, the stack where ISLM is implemented and shipped with the ABAP component. I think this is answered. Another aspect when you ask about third party is that we already invested in POCs to support other ML platforms and hyperscalers like Google AI or Azure also in the future, Microsoft Azure. And the good thing is we introduced ISLM, or the design of its architecture is in a way that we offer the implementation of custom adapters to support machine learning scenarios and models that are provisioned and operated on platforms, machine learning platforms that are not offered by SAP, like Google or other hyperscaler platforms. And this is possible for the future. It's not yet available for our customers, but it could be if there is a pull.
Okay. So looks like a lot of exciting days ahead with ISLM. So let us maybe let's go back into that question about the key steps involved in ISLM. So maybe I'll put this question in a little different way. In the context of these side-by-side models, can we discuss a bit in detail about how ISLM works when a machine learning model is created in SAP DI instance that can be leveraged by the S4 processes? Maybe some can shed some thoughts around that.
Yes, definitely. I would say it's pretty simple. And I myself, I'm not a data scientist, but of course, as a prerequisite to use ISLM, you need to have a developed and provisioned machine learning scenarios up and running in SAP Data Intelligence. This is the task of a data scientist. And now you can use ISLM. By the way, for your data scientist, you need to talk or let him know that you want to integrate with ISLM, as there are some naming conventions for ISLM that are documented in our help subcom document when you search for intelligent scenario lifecycle management. And following these ISLM naming conventions, then you can start with ISLM. You go into your S/4HANA system. First of all, you need to create a connection to this SAP DI instance with your service key, your service instance to get all the credentials and so that you can create your RFC destinations and so on. And then what you also need as a development task, there is an ISLM interface for SAP DI-based machine learning or intelligence scenarios in ISLM. So what you have to do, you need to implement one ABAP class that follows or implements this ISLM interface for SAP DI, but it's also pretty simple. It's not a difficult interface. Within this class and implementation, you need to give the GUID of the machine learning scenario that you're running in SAP DI, so as a binding entity. And based on that implementation, you can then go to our Fiori app, the ISLM Fiori app with the name Intelligent Scenarios. You choose the Create button and the type side by side, give it a unique name, and then you select your implementation, your ABAP class, and some description. That's it. So you introduce with your intelligence scenario, your unique name, your solution as an ABAP representation for your machine learning model as a binding entity, and that you can use then in your business application for inference consumption via ISLM. And ISLM provide you the ABAP APIs that you can use then for your inference calls. And the last step you do in ISLM is you publish it in this first Fiori app. And with the publishing of your intelligence scenario, you can then see your scenario in the second ISLM Fiori app, which is called Intelligence Scenario Management. And one small piece I have to say is you need to go into the IMG, and there is one small configuration part where you map your destination. Remember, you configured an RFC destination, and you map the name of the destination to your intelligence scenario name, so that we from the ISLM framework know how to connect to the machine learning scenario in SAP DI. And then with that, you are ready to go. You get all the operation and management capability offered via ISLM, and you can then trigger, operate your intelligence scenario use case and trigger the training, deployment, and activation via ISLM. Maybe you think about you can directly use it in SAP DI cockpit as well. That is a common question that I get a lot. Why do I need ISLM? And I can do it in the DI directly. And that is partially right. Of course, you as a data scientist, you can manage all these operational parts or lifecycle management parts for your machine learning scenario directly in SAP DI. But the ISLM key value here is that ISLM stands for integration and consumption in S/4HANA. And in the SAP DI cockpit, you have no clue about your consumers. You do not know which S/4HANA solution is using your machine learning model. And that's why ISLM offers control for admins and citizen data scientists to manage the usage of the underlying machine learning model versions in context of the business application in a productive environment. And that's very important when it comes also to audits and change control over system landscapes.
Okay, that is a very detailed and comprehensive explanation, Marion. That is very helpful to understand the complete process in here. So what we can do is that maybe we'll take a quick pause or a quick break and then come back and talk about the adoption of the AI technology and then provide any closing remarks for this podcast. All right, welcome back. Marion, before we wrap up the session with any closing remarks, I have one other last question. What do you see as challenges towards adopting the AI technology with ISLM?
Oh yes, it's a tricky question, but so to say, I see that the magical part when it comes to AI and machine learning is always the data and the availability of excellent data and an understanding of training and apply data sets. So when we develop machine learning models, sometimes we lack really enough or historical data amount and the quality of data. So this is a challenge, as well as the need for monitoring the model degradation, testing the inference before activating a model version, and especially the trust in the machine learning model is a challenge. On our side, we work on improving the usability and relating the intelligence scenarios much better to the consuming business application so that our customers better understand the key values of it. We work on improving the debriefing visualizations so that even a layman users that have no data science background can understand the result of a training to make their decisions.
Okay, sounds very good. It's been a great pleasure talking with you and having this conversation on ISLM and how it is used with SAP S/4HANA, and whether it is the embedded models or the side-by-side models working, embedding into S4 or providing the service on SAP BTP and how it is consumed with S4. So before we close the podcast, do you have any closing remarks that you want to provide about ISLM for our listeners and for our audience?
Yes, maybe to wrap up and to summarize a bit, ISLM, I want to let you keep in mind that ISLM is new, and at least the part for side by side. And we have a great roadmap and vision for the future when AI will be more and more adopted in business solution. It is a pleasure for me to work with the ISLM development teams, even if it's a virtual setup in these difficult times. Running the TechEd event, having usability sessions with customers, talking to our internal stakeholders, having the opportunity to talk to you, Raghu. All these engagements help us doing the right thing and taking decisions into the right direction. So, but I have to say, when I reach out to customers, I always are asked about machine learning scenarios and adoption in S4HANA. I have to say ISLM is the binding component. ISLM does not teach you data science. It is positioned to bridge the gap between business application developers and data scientists. And I see at the moment the great value, and I'm a strong believer in all these great features that are currently in development and will show the need and high value for a standardized framework for integration, operation, and consumption. So as said, I'm very grateful driving ISLM in my role, working together with excellent developers, architects, POs, and product management. By the way, since Monday this week, I think we have also the new fully activated S4HANA CAL appliance available with ISLM automatically configured with 2 example scenarios for APL and PAL. So I hope you are able to use it and play around and get some hands-on experience. I would be happy to hear about it.
Well, very good. I think that's very helpful, and it's been a pleasure, and I really appreciate your time, Marion, and providing thoughts about ISLM and the future of the roadmap with ISLM, and what are the great things that are possible when we are talking about the embedded scenarios as well as the side-by-side scenarios. Thank you, Marion.
Thanks a lot, Raghu. It was a pleasure and honor for me to do this podcast interview with you. Thanks a lot for this invitation.
All right, let us wrap up this podcast 2 from season 2. And like I always said, you can always find more information about this by going back into our blogs, where you can find more information, the blogs.sap.com. And you can search up any of our names, Raghu Banda or Marion Schlotte or Preeti Dhingra, and then you can find more information on this blog series. And this blog series is aligned with the podcast series so that you'll find more information on that. And then you'll also have more information on the links to the ISLM series and so on and so forth. I would really appreciate your time in listening in and tuning in. I'd appreciate that you had put some efforts in listening into this series. We are coming back with more sessions. This time, the next session will be focused on the AI business services and the AI factory in the context of S4 and how ISLM framework is leveraged here with another 2 more experts from SAP. Happy predicting the future with SAP technologies. And you all have a very nice day. Thank you and bye-bye.